was 45 years old, jobless, broke, and living in my married younger sister's backyard. One morning, I woke up and found the door to my room locked from the outside. Yes, someone had locked me inside. I thought it was a mistake. I banged on the door. I called her number. No answer. I texted her husband. Delivered. No reply. 2 hours later, a knock. It was my sister. She didn't open the door. She just whispered through the wood. "Brother, please manage inside today. My in-laws are around. They are big people. I don't want them to ask who you are or why you are never married at your age." Then silence. My heart tore into tiny, sharp pieces. I had no bed. Just a mat on the floor. The fan was dead. The heat in that small room started to cook my skin. I spent the whole day sweating, hungry, ashamed, and forgotten. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break the door, but I sat down on that mat and wept. Not because they locked me in, but because I realized that even poverty has a smell, and I had started to carry it. Let me tell you how I got here. I once worked in a bank. I had a car. I lived in an estate. I wasn't a billionaire, but I had dignity until I trusted the wrong friend. He convinced me to take a loan of $500,000 for a sure oil and gas business. I signed the papers. He disappeared with the money. The bank suspended me. Then they fired me. Then they blacklisted me. Just like that, my phone stopped ringing. People who used to call me boss suddenly couldn't remember my birthday. When my rent expired, I begged everyone. My best friend told me, "You should have been married before now. At least your wife would have support you now that you are broke." I laughed like it was funny. But when I dropped the call, I cried until my eyes turned red. That's how I moved into my younger sister's backyard. At first, they were nice. Then they stopped being nice. They started locking the fridge. They stopped greeting me in the morning. They told their children not to sit on my lap because my clothes were dusty. They said I was too spiritual because I prayed aloud at night. I apologized and started whispering my prayers, but they still treated me like a ghost. By 4 p.m., my tummy was making sounds like a beaten drum. I hadn't eaten since yesterday. I stood by the window, watching freedom through the rusty burglar bars, and I did something I hadn't done in months. I prayed, but not the kind of prayer you say when you want a miracle. This was the kind of prayer you say when you are finished, empty, and ready to die. I said, "God, I don't even know if you still see me, but if you do, I am tired." No shouting, no falling under the anointing. Just hot tears on a cold floor. I eventually slept off on that mat. Around 6:30 p.m., my phone rang. It was a number I didn't know. I almost didn't pick. But a voice in my head said, "Answer it." "Hello, is this Mr. Matthew?" the woman asked. I said yes. She started screaming on the phone. "Thank you, Jesus. I've been searching for you for 5 years. I sat up. She said, "My name is Mrs. Jonathan. You used to work at the branch in Victoria Estate, right?" I said yes. She began to sob. 12 years ago, I came to your desk. I was a widow. I had no collateral, but my children were out of school. You used your own money to help me start my small poultry. Today, I own 3 of the biggest farms in the Southeast." I couldn't breathe. She said, "I don't know where you are or what you are doing, but God told me I won't sleep until I find the man who saved my life when I was nothing." She paused. "Please, text me your account number. I want to send you a small token for transport, so you can come and see me tomorrow." I sent it with my hands shaking. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. I rubbed my eyes. I looked again. My sister's husband had locked the door, but God had just opened a portal. The alert was $200,000. I fell on my knees and let out a scream that shook the whole house. The door suddenly flew open. My sister and her husband rushed in, thinking I had gone mad or died. When they saw the screen of my phone, their faces turned white. The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. My sister's husband tried to touch my shoulder. "Matthew, what happened? Why are you screaming?" I didn't answer him. I just showed them the phone. When they saw the zeros, my sister started shaking. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back. Brother, I was just trying to protect you from my in-laws, she stammered. I didn't say a word. I didn't curse them. I didn't even pack my bags. There was nothing in them anyway but rags. I walked out of that backyard barefooted. I walked past her rich in-laws in the sitting room. They stared at me like I was a madman. I stepped outside and looked at the stars. They looked different. That night, I slept in a hotel. I took a bath with hot water. I ate a meal that cost more than my sister's monthly feeding allowance. But I didn't sleep on the bed. I slept on the floor. I wanted to remind myself that 24 hours ago, I was a prisoner. On Monday morning, I went to see Mrs. Jonathan. She didn't just give me money. She handed me a set of keys. This is a 4-bedroom bungalow, she said. And my company needs a chief operating officer. I know your record. I know your heart. Will you help me? I went from a mat in a backyard to a boardroom in a week. I bought 10 suits. I bought a car. I changed my number, but I didn't forget the mat. I went back to my sister's house 2 months later. I drove a car that made the neighbors come out of their houses. I walked in. My sister saw me and started crying. She thought I came for revenge. I sat her and her husband down. I brought out an envelope. Inside was $50,000 and a key to a shop. This is for you, I said. She froze. After what I did to you? I smiled. If you didn't lock that door, I wouldn't have been forced to pray that kind of prayer. You didn't lock me in. You locked the world out so I could hear God. We hugged and cried. I forgave them, but I never moved back. Today, I run a foundation called the Matt Testimony. We find people who have been discarded by their families. We find men who have lost their dignity to poverty. Because I realize something. God doesn't need your family to agree before He blesses you. Sometimes, God allows people to reject you so that when the blessing comes, they will know it wasn't by their power. If you are reading this and you feel like you are behind a locked door, if your family has turned their back on you, if you are eating the bread of sorrow, listen to me. The door isn't locked to keep you in. It's locked to keep the distractions out because your miracle is about to land. Your $200,000 alert is coming. Your Mrs. Jonathan is searching for you. Don't give up on that, Matt. God is still on the throne. If you believe God is turning your story around this month, share this to bless someone.
And that is exactly why this message matters right now, because work is changing fast, pressure is rising, and a lot of people are being forced to reinvent themselves before they feel ready. The World Economic Forum's 2025 report says job disruption is expected to affect 22% of jobs by 2030, while employers also expect AI to both displace roles and create new ones. In other words, some people are not failing. They are being squeezed by a changing economy and a changing labor market. And I need you to hear me clearly. Being delayed is not the same thing as being deleted. A lot of people give up too early because they think embarrassment is evidence. They think because the door closed, the future closed with it. They think because they are broke, jobless, living with family, starting again, or feeling small, then their life has already been decided. No, that is not what is happening. What is happening is pressure. What is happening is pruning. What is happening is that life is stripping away everything that was propping up your identity so you can finally see what remains when the applause stops. And that is where this story hits hard. A man is 34, jobless, broke, living in his younger sister's BQ. Then one morning he wakes up and finds the door locked from the outside. Locked. Not because of a criminal, not because of a war, but because of shame. Because somebody decided his presence was inconvenient. Because somebody wanted to hide him from important guests. That part right there, that is where many people break. Not when they lose the job, not when the money finishes, not even when they are asking for help. They break when they start feeling like a burden. That is the real wound. Because poverty does not just affect your wallet. It attacks your dignity. It makes you second guess your voice. It makes you whisper when you should speak. It makes you apologize for breathing. It makes you accept treatment you would never have tolerated when life was softer. And that is why so many people stay stuck. Not because they cannot move, because shame has sat on their chest. Listen to me. The problem is not always the situation. The problem is the story you start telling yourself inside the situation. I am finished. I am too old. I am a disgrace. My family is tired of me. I miss my chance. That story will paralyze you faster than poverty itself. Because the moment you accept humiliation as your identity, you stop looking for exits. You stop praying with expectation. You stop updating your skills. You stop taking calls. You stop preparing. You stop believing that a door can open from the most unlikely place. And that is the deeper truth here. The door was locked, yes, but the bigger prison was not the room. It was the mindset that says, this is all there is. Now let me challenge somebody gently. Some of you are waiting for life to become comfortable before you become disciplined. That is backwards. Some of you are waiting for money before you restore your habits. That is backwards. Some of you are waiting for respect before you act like a person with a future. That is backwards too. Because the people who survive hard seasons are not always the smartest. They are often the most steady. They keep their mind clean. They keep their skills sharp. They keep their integrity intact. They keep showing up, even when nobody is clapping, even when the room is small, even when the mattress is on the floor, even when the fan is dead, even when the house feels like it is swallowing them. That is the part people do not post. That is the part people do not celebrate. But that is where character is built. Now let's talk about the practical shift. First, stop treating your current season like a permanent label. You are not the broke one. You are not the one who failed. You are not the one everybody has outgrown. You are in a chapter, not the book. Second, keep your dignity in the small things. Sit up straight, speak with clarity, dress as that, keep your documents together, keep your phone on, keep your mind active, keep learning, keep your hands busy. Because when the opportunity comes, it usually does not announce itself with fireworks. It comes like a phone call. It comes like a message. It comes like a person remembering your name from years ago. And when that moment comes, you do not want to be mentally asleep. Third, stay useful. This is where many adults lose ground. They disappear, they go quiet, they let shame isolate them, but usefulness keeps you alive. Read, volunteer, serve, build something small, write, teach, sell something, help somebody else, stay in motion. Do not let your life become one long waiting room. Now, the story gets even stronger. After that terrible day, the man prays, not the kind of prayer people perform to look spiritual. No noise, no drama, just a tired soul speaking honestly. And that right there is a prayer God understands very well, because there are prayers you say when you are full of faith, and there are prayers you say when you are empty. The empty prayer sounds different. It sounds like truth. It sounds like surrender. It sounds like, God, I am tired. And sometimes that is the most powerful prayer themselves. Pride dies. And when pride dies, hearing begins. That is why many breakthroughs happen after breakdown, not because pain is good, but because pain makes space. Then comes the call. A woman he helped years before remembers him. Not because he was rich, not because he had influence, but because he showed up for her when she had nothing. And that is another lesson. Your kindness is never wasted. The world may not reward it immediately. People may forget. Your name may disappear from the rooms you once entered with confidence, but grace keeps records, integrity keeps records, seed keeps records. What you did in obscurity is not invisible forever. The phone rings, the money comes, the blessing lands, and suddenly the same room that held shame now holds testimony. That is how quickly a life can change. But hear this carefully. The miracle was not just the money. The miracle was that somebody remembered his value before his circumstances changed. That is powerful, because a lot of people do not need more hype. They need one reminder that they are still valuable while they are still low. That is why I say this without apology. Do not measure your future by who is ignoring you today. Do not measure your worth by the season you are surviving. A mat is not a prophecy. A locked door is not the end. A bad month is not your biography. Now let me speak like I really mean this. If you are in a hard season, do not waste it. Use it. Use the pain to get serious. Use the embarrassment to become disciplined. Use the silence to hear yourself think. Use the pressure to remove laziness. Use the humiliation to build a stronger spine. Use the waiting to sharpen your plan. Because there is a version of you on the other side of this season that cannot be created in comfort. And that version is the one that will need to lead, the version that will need to manage money, the version that will need to hold a family together, the version that will need to speak in boardrooms, the version that will need to build a business, carry a vision, raise children, or recover after loss. You are being trained, not abandoned. That is the authority moment. This is what I know. The people who last are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who refuse to become bitter in the fall. They refuse to let one humiliating chapter define the whole story. They keep their hearts soft without becoming weak. They keep their standards high without becoming proud. They keep moving without needing constant reassurance. That is strength. So no, I am not here to give you empty inspiration. I am telling you to hold your ground. Keep your faith, keep your habits, keep your network alive, keep your integrity clean, keep your name trustworthy, because one day, maybe sooner than you think, the call will come, the door will open, the message will arrive. The person who remembers you will show up. And when that happens, you need to be ready to rise, not just react. So here's my challenge to you today. Do not let the season embarrass you into silence. Do not let pressure make you quit. Do not let rejection convince you that you are finished. Keep going, even if it is slow, even if it is private, even if nobody is cheering, especially then, because your mat is not your end. Your delay is not your death. And your current location is not your final place. If this spoke to you, follow this page, share it with one person who needs strength today, and comment, don't give up.